Coach Chris Steins here. Thanks for joining me live. Tonight I'm going to be talking about how GMOs, or genetically modified foods, could be impacting your weight. The coloring kind of off? Coloring seems off. Okay, is that slightly better? So when you get on, say hi, say hi. It's nice to get some feedback so I know I'm not just talking to myself over here, and I've got two screens going once again, so if I look up and down, that's why. So, genetically modified foods. I want to talk about these. So genetically modified foods were first created to help combat like a lot of the environmental stuff going on that would it made them more like resilient to things. Okay, so that's why they were created. But I don't know how much you guys know about them. You know, there's the pros, the cons, but they definitely can play a role in your health. I don't know how many of you do. Many of you guys watching like buy genetically, like look for non-GMO foods when you're shopping, or maybe you don't pay much attention to it yet. Let me know if that's something that's like important to you right now. Because I know for me, I try to as often as possible buy those things, look for that stamp, but not always. But here's something else, maybe something you didn't know, and an additional reason you might want to search for that going forward. And I'm going to talk specifically tonight about how it might be impacting your weight. And the way it could be impacting your weight is through cravings. Anyone have cravings? I know I used to get cravings like a crazy person. And maybe, you know, I'm going to explain here tonight how it could be in part related to your genetically modified food that you're eating. So when farmers, when people who are growing crops use genetically modified ingredients, some of the benefits is you get more of a harvest from them. So rather than this crop, you getting like one harvest from it, you might get like 2 harvests a year. Rather than that, you might get like 5 harvests a year. So the farmer is getting more crops, and they're also, this plant is not as susceptible to some of like environmental factors and issues that can damage a crop. So that's a benefit for a farmer. But on the flip side, these crops have to be, after they are harvested those 5 times, they're dead, they're done, they have to be pulled out and they have to be replanted. So that's the flip side. So you get more crops, but you have to replant them every year or whatever it is. And I saw this when I was in Indonesia, in this beautiful area called Ubud, and they have tons of rice fields. Anyone been to Ubud in Indonesia ever? They have these beautiful rice fields. They're just gorgeous, and they go on forever and ever. And they're got this, what is this called? I don't know, this kind of look to them. I don't know the word I'm looking for. Anyways, they go on forever and they're absolutely gorgeous. And they said that they use seeds that are from Monsanto, who is a big supplier for genetically modified seeds for crops. And I was like, wow, way out in this remote part, even here, they're using GMO seeds to make their rice. And it's because they can get more rice doing that. They'll get like 4 times the amount of rice, but then at the end of the year, they have to pull them out and then go to Monsanto, buy more seeds and replant them. Here's the issue with that. So when you're pulling out plants like that, the plant's roots are never getting a chance to really get down into that good soil, that rich soil that we need, that nutrient dense soil. And when you don't have nutrient dense soil going up into that plant, you're not getting nutrient dense vegetables or fruit or whatever it is that you're growing. So no nutrient-dense soil, no nutrient-dense plants. And when you don't have nutrient-dense plants and you eat that food, you're eating, obviously, you're nutrient deficient, I guess would be the opposite word, vegetables. Maybe not nutrient deficient isn't the right word, but they're not as nutrient-dense as they used to be, because these roots are never getting down deep enough to really cultivate that, to bring it up and into the plants, because they're having to replant them all the time, because that's what they do with genetically modified food. And that's one of the ways Monsanto makes so much money, is you have to constantly rebuy the seeds to make the crops, to make more food from it. And so if you've ever felt like you eat a lot of food, but you're still hungry, sometimes, I'm not saying this is always the case, but sometimes it is because the food that you're eating is not nutrient dense. There's no nutrients in it. So you're eating food, you're consuming calories, but it's not really feeding your body on a cellular level. So you're still hungry. If that ever happened to you, like, I'm sure you probably have heard it said empty calories. And that's what's happening here. So you eat food. It happens oftentimes we think of it more with like processed food. We don't really think of it often with something like a vegetable or a fruit, but it's still relevant even for those healthy foods. You know, if you eat a bag of chips, you can eat, pop all these chips, right? Once you pop, you can't stop. Isn't that how it goes? And then you get done and you're still hungry. It's because there was no nutrients in it. So even though you put all these calories in it, it didn't register to your body as like, I'm getting full. Okay, I'm getting what I need from this. Okay, I'm good. Send the signal. We're done. We're full. We have what we need to function well, right? And thrive. So you're not getting that. So you continue to be hungry and hungry. 3/4 of the ingredients in processed food are genetically modified, by the way. Okay. So this could be a reason that you're having a lot of cravings, is you're choosing a lot of genetically modified foods. So the most GMO foods, let me give you some information about this. The most GMO foods are corn and soy. And they put that stuff in a lot of things. If you're buying processed packaged foods, it often has something like that in that. Corn syrup, corn oil, corn starch. Those are all things they make from corn that are likely genetically modified, unless it says on the package it's not. Or soybean, it's things, I made a list of some of the stuff that it's in. Boxed, I didn't even read what I said, boxed something. Oh, baking mixes, sorry. Corn syrup, granola bars, those granola bars you think are healthy. Tortilla chips, that one's a bummer. But the corn and tortilla chips, genetically modified, okay? Soy, infant formula, tofu, veggie burgers, those are just a few of them, okay? So what can you do? Okay, I don't want to leave you hanging with like bad stuff about genetically modified ingredients. So first, you have to make sure your body is not inflamed, because an inflamed body, even if you're eating nutrient-dense food, you also can't absorb the nutrients. So stay away from inflammatory foods like dairy, wheat. Those are two really big inflammatory foods. Another thing, so the companies are not, well, depending on what state you live in, they're not forced to label their food that they have genetically modified ingredients in them, but they will label them if they don't. So look for the seal. If you see something that says USDA organic, those do not have genetically modified ingredients in it. I know that sometimes there's some confusion. I was always like, well, if it's organic, is that more important, or is GMO? If you buy the USDA organic, it also doesn't have GMOs in it, so you're safe there. You can also obviously look for the non-GMO label. That's kind of an obvious. Avoid processed food. The produce that tends to be higher in genetically, the produce that tends to be more genetically modified are corn, like I said, beets, zucchini, summer squash, radicchio, and Hawaiian papaya. So those tend to be much higher in GMOs. So buy instead fresh or all other fresh or frozen vegetables. Most of those do not have GMOs. You can also research imported products, because sadly, a lot of other countries have better restrictions on their food for allowing GMOs. And so sometimes other countries will prohibit GMOs in their crops more than the US does. Of course, you could always grow your own and buy non-GMO seeds. You can research online where to do that. And another great one is to just buy local at farmers markets or farms. They rarely have GMOs there, and you can speak with the representative directly from the growers when you go to those places. So those are my tips. on what to do. And like I said, just it's definitely something, if you're eating foods that are low in nutritional value, that you're